super important for everybody in Arizona, especially if you're dealing with what we were just talking about, domestic violence.
Right. We're Red and Casson. So it's been since last year.
Yeah, a whole year ago.
Yeah, you got number 2 on the way here in the next handful of weeks coming.
Yep, very excited.
And a new white pug.
Yeah, we got a couple new additions to the family. One's here, one's coming. So
Man, you are really just moving along. Been thinking since our last pod because I enjoyed that time.
yeah, that was great.
And so I was thinking, okay, I got to get this guy's take on a few things, but I wanted to start with kind of a softball. Obviously, we deal a lot with, our firms deal a lot with alcohol and or impairment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that splashes into many different criminal offenses, oftentimes.
Absolutely.
And sometimes no event, which happens too. There's a lot of Super Bowl gatherings that don't end up having the police called.
Yeah.
I'd say most, probably.
Right around the corner, yeah.
Right, and that's coming around the bend too. So we've had impairment, but I wanted to go with a few stories that I'm just going to bring this up, and you're going to have one. I just know it. So domestic violence. It's not a joking matter, but rewinding the time of years past, we got the fat-bellied sheriff that would come out and say, all right, what's going on here, son or ma'am? All right, can you guys keep it down? And away they went.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anymore.
No, definitely not.
They're taking somebody with them.
Yeah, that's basically the rule now is if they show up to a domestic violence call, someone's going with the officer.
Right. Like
Whether it's the right person or not,
Right.
someone's leaving to split the parties these days.
So I knew I was going to spring this on you, and I knew I was going to get that look because you just jumped on it. You just like, yep, someone's going.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and you hit it right on the head, sometimes it doesn't really matter if it's the right one.
Nope.
And I've seen, as you have, we've seen that it's the wrong one, or probably usually there's a lesser of the two evils, or the greater of the two evils remains.
Yeah.
However I want to put that. Anyway, I got a story of one that just was so ridiculous I couldn't believe it, that somebody even A, got the police called, and B, somebody was taken away and charged with a DV.
Let's hear it.
They're arguing in their townhome. So there's neighbors close by.
Neighbors, yeah.
And apparently a window open or whatever. They're arguing, and they're not quiet about their arguing. But it's not out of control. I mean, I got audio and all this stuff, right? It's not out of control because one of them's audio and the whole thing. Or video and whatever. There's a
nice. Yeah, at least there's a recording of some sort. Right. That's always the hardest part sometimes in these domestic violence cases is it's all after the fact.
So I get this case, and after I get the case, this is years ago, but this could have happened yesterday too. After I get the case, I'm watching, and I have no idea how this happened, but I was in getting my hair cut, and they had old reruns of some oldie station going on. And it was the Honeymooners.
Okay.
Ralph and Norm Cramden. To the moon, Alice, that kind of thing. And I'm watching this show going, that's way worse than who just signed up with us. And I thought, how interesting. The days have changed. So interesting. So they're arguing, and let's just say Alice and Ralph are arguing. And Alice has one of those silo cups, plastic cup.
Okay.
Completely empty. And she goes, Ralph, and pretends like she's throwing whatever the contents in the cup are, and a little bead of whatever liquid was in the cup hit him in the face. That was assault.
Yeah.
And she got charged with assault, DV, fighting, and all of the fun.
So what'd you do?
Well, we ended up getting that one dismissed. But boy, it was not easy.
No, they never are.
No, it was not easy. We had to jump through every hoop as though she took a chainsaw to the dude.
Yeah.
Well, then that would have been a felony. As though she slugged him.
But explain like the low standard that we deal with here in Arizona, especially, one of the things I like telling a lot of people is domestic violence itself is not actually a crime.
Right.
It's not its own charge. There has to be something else. So like assault, disorderly conduct, trespass, whatever it is. And then domestic violence attaches to it and basically makes the crime worse.
Right.
So that's something to know.
It's an enhancement.
And
it's
then
the cherry.
Exactly. And then the point of that means you're not just fighting one charge, you're basically fighting two things. And the standard here for these prosecutors, tell us about what are these prosecutors looking at, or these police officers, that makes our job so difficult when we're like, wait a second.
Right.
Why are you doing what you're doing, prosecutor? Why are you threatening us with jail time, a criminal conviction? Why is it so hard to jump through all these hoops here?
Well, I think there's one aspect that also needs to be mentioned as well. So you're right. It's not domestic violence is not the charge, is not a charge, but it never goes off your record.
Yeah.
It's an STD. It's forever. It's not one of those old-fashioned STDs where you get a shot and it clears right up. Oh no, this one you're hanging on to. And so if you're a school teacher, if you're a firefighter, if you're whatever the case might be, if we're not able to, get DV off of, let's say it's a threatening, or let's say it's a disorderly conduct, let's say it's a whatever, something like that. If we can't get that removed, which we're able to do quite a bit, if we can't get that removed, it sticks, and it's on your record forever. And it's really easy to pick one of these suckers up because, like we were talking about before, Officer Friendly and Officer Joe come on out, they're taking somebody with them.
Yeah.
And for right or wrong, just because they want the company in the car, I guess.
Yeah, we've heard Glendale in particular. They have a police agency policy that if they are called to a domestic violence call, they must remove one party. Like, throw out the Constitution, throw out probable cause, throw out reasonable suspicion. Just because they showed up, they have to take someone is their policy.
And that's Glendale and
others.
And everywhere else kind of just does it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's their policy, but you're right. It's not constitutional. It has zero legal bearing whatsoever as far as a reasonable suspicion leads to probable cause, leads to, where's the police work necessary here?
I mean, where's the due process? Because what happens in sometimes, and this is a little more on the rare side, let's say the police do totally get it wrong. They arrest somebody, they take them, they book them. Well, the police just let them go after, 12 hours, whatever it is. And then they wash their hands with it and they say, hey, we saved that person.
Right.
And they look at themselves still as the hero, not recognizing the consequences of now this person has an arrest record. Now this person might actually be facing charges and the prosecutor has one whole year to decide if they're going to or not. Not to mention the whole thing is a hearsay from the beginning. He said, she said. We get these cases all the time, and these are the ones I feel worse about. The person who called 911 asking for help gets arrested.
Right.
Like, straight to my heart, I'm like, we are taught as kids, trust the police. If something's going wrong, call the police. The police are there to help you. And these situations, these arguments, these, sometimes things that lead to fights, whether it's, hands and fists or, throwing plates across the room, we're told, hey, call the police before things get worse. And then when the police get there and arrest you because the other person says their side of the story and you say your side of the story and the officer says, sometimes it's the male gender who gets arrested more often than not. And it's just like, wow, why would I call the police again if this ever happened in the future? If you don't truly have proof that you didn't do anything wrong, and if they have a policy that says, yeah, we're going to show up and arrest someone.
Yeah.
And even if they're wrong, they're like, yeah.
So how often do you have, I know the answer to this, but how often do you have the couple themselves in your office or the one that was allegedly the victim in your office hiring you on behalf of whomever.
Yeah, it's almost every single time.
Yep.
And there's guilt associated with the person who didn't get arrested.
Or the person who called 911.
Yes.
Well, if they're the
Yes.
caller, like you were explaining, they're pissed off.
Yeah.
And I get that, like you were explaining perfectly. But if they're the ones that called and husband wife went away, they're feeling an immense amount of guilt. Again, like I kind of started out saying, oftentimes, more times than not, we have substances involved.
Yeah.
That kind of are not conducive to a civil conversation, even a civil fight, let's call it. I mean, everybody that's married out there or has a significant other, there's going to be disagreements.
Absolutely. Rough patches in every marriage. 100%.
You just got a white pug. You weren't voting for a white pug, and yet here you are kind of with a white pug.
Yeah, we have a baby on the way. So any pug in the mix right now wasn't really part of the plan, but
but she saw it on social media.
Yeah, we found it. We've been looking for years, and so when timing aligns, you pull the trigger there. But
kudos.
I mean, but it's stressful. It's stressful, and that's the big thing here. And that's sometimes the argument, whether right or wrong, from prosecutors, from police officers, from judges, is, well, let's err on the side of caution here. Let's, separate the parties. Let's arrest someone. Let's take them to jail. Let's later release them. Let's later dismiss the criminal charge. Maybe we got this wrong, but at least we played it safe. And oftentimes these calls, they come out of fairly innocent things that they built up after a while. And it's just, the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, now there's an argument, and now the neighbor calls, or now, one of the couples, the partners call. And, more often than not, they're calling basically asking the police for help, saying, hey, I just need help diffusing the situation. They're not calling saying, arrest this person, get them out of my house.
Right.
Like, that's not what they're
And
doing.
if they ask them, they say no every time as they're taking them away.
Yeah.
And no, I don't want them to get arrested. Just don't.
Exactly. And that's right to the point you were bringing up here. And that's why usually the person who didn't get in trouble is calling us and coming to our office saying, hey, I need to help out my partner who was arrested because I called asking for help, but they arrested him. They charged him. And now the police don't believe my side of the story that, she didn't actually do what, I called.
How hard is it? Because here's the interesting thing. I want to get your take on this. How hard is it when if they had endless amounts of money, you could spend a lot of time on any one of these cases that sometimes are pretty small in our eyes, but they're these folks' entire life, potentially unfolding in their mind, and it's really, really scary and all that jazz. I mean, they're getting threatened with jail, and they're getting threatened with a record forever.
100%.
So if they come in with suitcases of money, which most people don't have that.
Of course.
We could probably bring the roof down on many of these types of cases, but it's kind of a man. No, not many people have $25,000.
Yeah, and money doesn't always solve the problem. Right. And so our firm works with a ton of first-time offenders. And so these are people who've never been through the court system. They've never called the police, been arrested, and they're like, look, this was all a big misunderstanding. Here's $5,000, let's say, and I need your help.
Right.
And really that $5,000 is because if they don't get help, they're going to lose their job.
Right.
They're going to lose their fingerprint clearance if they haven't already. They're going to lose their teaching license. They're going to lose any professional license.
Goes on.
Whether you're in the tech world, the sales world, employers look at this. And if you're going up for a promotion, who are they going to promote? You with the criminal record all of a sudden, who's a question mark, or the other person?
Domestic violence.
Because
it has a real crappy ring to it.
Real ripple effect in, is this person a team player? Can they work with males, females, opposite genders? Question marks all over the place. So anyways, these people hire us, and let's say they have the $5,000, or let's say they have $1 million. They're like, I'll pay anything to make this go away. Right. Well, guess what? We can have the best scenario. We can have the party who wasn't charged recant and say, look, everything that the police said and arrested this person based on was a lie. I straight up lied when I called the police and I said this happened. It was a lie. And it was a lie because of whatever motivation or anything like that. Well, in Arizona, our prosecutors have the discretion to continue to pursue these charges.
Right.
So just because the victim says, no, I don't want to press charges, that doesn't make cases go away. That's huge, because in no other place do you just ask for help, get charged, and then say, I want this to go away. The help's over. And then they're like, no, we're going to stick it to him because we, as prosecutors, are saving the world here. We know there must be other abuse you're facing, and we're going to make this person learn their lesson. Right. And they'll take it the whole way to trial because the prosecutor has nothing to lose.
How often have you and or one of your other attorneys that work there, how often have you showed up for trial, dressed up for the prom, all ready to rock and roll with your pencil sharpened, and you're ready to bring down the house, and there's no victim?
Yeah.
And the case is dismissed right in front of you.
It happens. I would like to say it happens every time. It definitely doesn't.
Right, it does not. We've had to do full-blown trials because a judge goes, I don't care if they're here.
100%. If a police officer is willing to show up, that case is going to have a trial. That's been our experience. So we still have to prepare, weeks before for the whole trial. Right. We have to plan our opening argument, our closing argument, our cross-examination, our recross. We're going to file motions to dismiss in situations where it's appropriate. And then, boom, we show up, and maybe the prosecutor finally opens the case and goes, oh, wow. I don't really have a good argument here. And they take about 5 seconds and they write a little letter that says, Judge, we're dismissing this case. No questions asked. Well, that's fantastic. I wish the prosecutor would have done that, 3-6 months before. Right. I wish the police officer wouldn't have arrested that person. I wish, there's a lot of going back in time you can't do.
Birthday candles here. A lot of birthday candles we're wishing on.
I mean, we look like heroes when we shouldn't sometimes, and our clients are frustrated because, again, they just spent thousands of dollars to get the help that they wanted, but so much time took place.
And all the panic and all the panic that they
probably didn't get sleep for nights and nights and nights.
Yep. So we have that we have that problem here, and it's crazy when the other party, the victim, doesn't want to have anything to do with anything, and yet a trial still may proceed, and we're prepared. So to save, and it sounds like this is exactly what you guys do. We found that we just start prepping for trial day one.
Yeah.
We just go day one because it saves the client a lot more money. It keeps it more affordable because we're just prepping for trial. If we need it, we need it. You can always throttle back is kind of what our approach is. In that way, we can do that cost effectively and kind of skip a few who cares hearings because the prosecutor, like you just brought up, doesn't even look at this thing seriously till the eve of trial, if not the day of. Usually it's the day of these cases. They're literally cracking it for the first time going.
And to be fair,
where's my victim?
Well, to be fair, I will say this, but in defense of everyone here, right? Prosecutors aren't here to defend themselves. They have a very difficult job. There are legitimate situations where they are needed and the case should not be dismissed, and there are truly people who were victimized. That is 100% true. But in today's day and age, 2024, defense attorneys, to give us some credit, we're not the way we used to be. No. We're not, defense attorneys these days don't just show up and ask for every single case to be dismissed. And, it's not like that. And prosecutors have learned to trust defense attorneys a lot more. And so that's part of the issue. And that's part of why you want to hire lawyers, because hopefully before we get to a trial, the prosecutor takes our motions, takes our letters, our deviation letters, and says, hey, we're going to drop the situation here saying, look, you got a ton of holes in your case, and we're going to accelerate your review of the file so you don't have to watch all the body cam and read the dozen plus pages and try and dismiss this now.
And the prosecutors that know, the defense attorneys are, straight shooters, and they do themselves a lot of favors because. And their clients.
Absolutely.
Number one, the client wins because they have a straight shooter. Number two, what comes after or before Maybe this is the chicken or egg, whatever. But your client, the person that's panicked about this, has that knowledge of here's how this works, and here's how it's going to work step by step by step, to where that information really helps out, greatly eases the burden that they're carrying, and also prepares them for, okay, we're in a situation where there's going to be a conviction.
Absolutely.
Here. Or we're in a situation wherein I don't feel like there should be a conviction. We've worked here 1,016 times this last month. Let us present this thing before it gets ugly and stupid and yada, yada, yada.
Well, and there's, tell us about diversion. You know, that's something that comes on the table sometimes with these cases.
Yeah. Especially with those clients that you get a lot of, those first timers.
Yeah.
A lot of options open to people that find themselves in the criminal system for the first time. You've got diversion programs. You've got, if you can get a Rule 38, which, boiling that down, is baked into that book here.
The Bible here.
Right, the
Bible of criminal defense.
That might be more complicated than the Bible. I'm just throwing that out there. But but the Rule 38 in there goes, it's just deferred prosecution. So you keep you keep your whistle clean for a certain set amount of time. It's as though it never happened. So you went to trial and won.
Yeah, diversion's cool. It's got a lot of benefits. Again, some prosecutors, some jurisdictions, some cities are a lot more friendly, a lot more inclined to offer it. Some, again, policies at the prosecutor's office say, no, if your person has a speeding ticket in their past, we're not giving them diversion. And diversion is basically counseling. You say, hey, look, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do 26 hours of domestic violence counseling, of anger management counseling, of substance abuse counseling, whatever it is. And then you successfully complete that. You get a certificate saying, I have done these hours. We hand that to the prosecutor. Prosecutor says, yeah, you're right. Congratulations. We're going to let you get the benefit of dismissing this case. That's usually a great outcome, which, this leads me to sealing records. I love sealing records after a diversion has been successessly completed.
Sealing a record is so under the radar. So let's talk about that.
Brand new 2023.
Awesome.
It's
exciting.
Excited.
Yeah,
You're excited. There are very few laws for Arizona that help people who've been accused of crimes. Very few. And this is the best one that's ever come up.
Right.
And I feel bad. So many people aren't taking advantage of it.
I'm surprised at the silence so far.
Yeah.
Maybe it just hasn't caught on. I don't understand. Because the judges kind of tend to struggle with it a little bit. We're knocking the rust off.
It's in the book
part,
here, right? It's not the most simple thing.
Off. It will be just like subsection I before you can say Bob's your uncle. But we got to get there. But we're getting there. And the phone's not ringing off the hook for the people that you've previously represented or people that want to seek your representation or that have received representation through us. You can seal your record.
Yeah.
It could be a zero burger.
And that's the best part.
No calories.
If your case gets dismissed outright or with diversion, the next day you can literally have us file this motion. There's zero waiting period.
There's no time frame.
Which is just this is the true benefit that helps people keep their jobs.
Right.
This is the true benefit that helps people, get post-secondary education, because sealing records in Arizona is the equivalent of expungements. Yeah. Most states have expungement. Arizona has expungement only for marijuana offenses.
Right.
It's like one click slightly higher expungements than sealing records.
Right.
It's removed from your criminal record.
It's gone.
Department of Public Safety seals it so nobody can get it unless a judge signs off for very specific reasons, saying this can come back into light.
Right, and usually
you
it's
never
family
have to
law
disclose
purpose,
it. Yeah, actually, that does come in. We've seen that.
Yeah,
but you never have to disclose it
but
on
they
job
have to
applications.
And blah 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 blah. So it's
it's not easy.
Say that again. Don't have to disclose it.
You don't have to disclose this on job applications. If they say, "Have you been arrested?" Misdemeanor, felony, dismissed, anything like that. The law says you no longer have to disclose that if your sealing record has been improved.
to get it sealed.
That's amazing.
Get
Like,
it sealed,
never
man.
has Arizona done something like this.
I know Arizona just got a little bit, they're going to be tough on you.
They've been user-friendly now.
But we're going to be tough on you.
People deserve second chances.
In this legal thing. However, you can come back from it.
Yeah.
And so, all right, we don't necessarily think they're completely, by they meaning the authorities here, are completely right all the time. I mean, nobody's going to dispute that. Not even they will.
Of course.
But when they get it wrong, we can move along. We can breathe now and go and get the job of our dreams, or go and get the education of our dreams, go and get these things that you got to seal it. You got to take a step and get this thing sealed. It's exciting.
It's one extra step. And this is why I think our phones aren't ringing off the hook about this. So back in the day, before 2023, we, as great lawyers, would get a case dismissed. We'd be like, fantastic. And we used to tell our clients, because this is what the judges told us. Right. They said, getting your case dismissed is the best thing that can happen in your case, because it's as if your case never happened. Right. It's dismissed. Right. Well, here's the fallacy. Here's what we weren't telling a lot of people, because the judges said you don't need to say that. Right. We were saying, yes, it goes away. It's been dismissed. However, that was wrong. Right. I feel awful. I feel like I have lied to every client before 2023, unknowing, obviously, that sealing records was going to come about, where we said, hey, this is the end. Your case is over. It's dismissed. It's as if this never happened. Right. The part that was wrong with that is your criminal record and your arrest record still showed up after your case was dismissed. Right. And right next to your name, it would say whatever case or a case number, and then right next to that, it would say dismissed. Right. Which we were like, yeah, look, it's dismissed. That's great. That's you reached the highest level.
Want that to be gone, and now
it can be gone.
The whole sentence nuked.
And it just says sealed, like on their websites. It's amazing. Right. So like, even if employers, and that was the problem back in the day, is employers would still find a dismissed case. And so you'd still be on the hook for having to explain, well, hey, what is this? And you'd be like, hey, my lawyer told me it was dismissed. And your employer's like, okay, but I wasn't born last night. Tell me what happened. Right. And now it's like all these people who didn't know, and they were misled by us lawyers, by the justice system, to think, okay, once your case is dismissed, it all goes away. Those people need to be the ones that are doing this.
On behalf of Zach, we suck. Let's get it sealed.
We've got to do this. And don't be like, well, I'll do this in a year or two. I'll do this 3 years from now. And that's also another thing. There's urgency.
You don't want to be in a rush to get it done. Just get it done.
Yeah, because you don't know when this is, the process takes at least 3 months to get done. So it's not like you call us, you hire us, and then the next day it's sealed.
Kind of like what we talked about. The judges are still warming up to this thing, and you have to kind of shove it down their throat as of right now.
Absolutely.
Which we've had some good success with that, but there's some shoving going on.
Yeah. Well, and this is...
And I'm assuming they're going to streamline that.
But here's the most important part, and this is built into the law. The law says, and this is 13-911, this says if you do this application wrong, so let's say you don't hire a lawyer, you want to do this yourself. If you do this wrong, the law says you have to wait an extra 3 years.
Yeah, wow. You can't screw this up.
You can't do this wrong. Your first shot better be perfect. You can't check the wrong box. You can't write the wrong word.
It was almost like the right defense lawyer wrote that.
Yeah, I talked to the lawyers who wrote this, and they spent 7 years creating this law.
But just to get it through.
Just to get it through and passed and approved, because there's a ton of, and don't get me wrong, the law has a ton of exceptions, right? You're not going to get your sex crime sealed. You're not going to get murder, your aggravated assault. If it's against the public interest, you're not going to get it sealed. If you didn't complete your restitution, your fines and fees, you're still on probation. You're not getting your case sealed, right? There are waiting periods for when you do successfully complete everything, then you have to wait certain years. But there were a ton of other, political groups who came in and said, hey, we don't want this to be approved for this, and we don't want this to be approved for this type of charge. That's what I'm actually scared of politically in the future. and why I'm encouraging everyone to get your records sealed today.
Right.
Because right now, today, the law's very favorable. There are a ton of cases you can get sealed.
Yep.
And already in 2024, there's a new law that's being proposed, I just saw, that is there to limit cases. So they're now starting to go after repeat offenders. If you have multiple priors, which right now the law allows you to get sealed. Of course, a certain amount of time passes. That's a great thing. People have done their time. It should be done.
Book it. Everybody get your butt get a
and they're trying to change it.
So get it sealed. It is very interesting how time sensitive, because Arizona, it's like they giveth and they're going to taketh it away, man. Because we've seen that happen 1,016 times, but they're probably not going to take away the expungement for weed. Marijuana, cannabis,
THC, ganja.
reefer. Anyway.
I'm really happy about expungements on marijuana. That was great. And I know, we have self-interest, sure. Great. We have criminal firms. We have family firms. Whatever lawyer. I don't want to say we live in a state of fear. I don't think so. If my job became obsolete because nobody got in trouble and the police never did anything wrong and prosecutors never got it wrong and judges followed the law, then great. I will go find a new job, a new career.
Sure.
And when marijuana passed, that was a fear in our community of, wow, look at all these charges that are going to go away. Well, then guess what? Once marijuana became legal, marijuana DUIs picked up.
Right. Like by a huge stretch. And people don't understand that marijuana stays
one hit.
What stays in the system rattles around for roughly 30 days or so.
And the active strand, we tell all our clients, look, if you smoke, wait at least 12 hours because that active strand's going to be in your system. Yep. And that's kind of the hard part. People are like, well, for me, I'm a daily user. Right. I'm not a daily user.
And everybody is different.
Sure.
I mean, it's tough because you're saying 12 hours and you're, for the most part, pretty good advice. It's pilot talk. Yeah. It's 12 hours from bottle to throttle. I mean, that's period, end of story. It used to be 8 hours from bottle to throttle, and now it's 12.
Well, they used to say, 1 beer, 1 hour, and you're good to drive. And, well, Arizona has zero tolerance laws now, so it's basically one beer bottle, and you get behind the wheel, and that officer says you're impaired. Says that one bottle of alcohol made you swerve or,
it's that A2 component.
That counts.
They're impaired.
That counts as a DUI with jail, with counseling, with thousands of fines and fees.
Right. Losing your license.
This isn't like California where your first DUI at a low level, you're not going to get jail. You're just going to get a little, do some counseling. And in California, you can get a DUI off your record even if first-time offense. In Arizona, you have to... For your first time, you do your 1 day of jail.
Yep.
You're looking at over $2,500 of fines and fees.
Yep.
You've got your counseling classes, so at least 16 hours of counseling, which is encumbersome. Thankfully, some are online. You've got interlock devices. You've got traffic survival school. You got 8 points going on your record. You got SR22 insurance you're looking at.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
And then you complete it all, which is what we're encouraging people to do. If you have the funds to pay off your fines and fees, do it as soon as possible. Complete your punishment as soon as possible.
And seal the damn
Seal
thing.
the record after 3 years. For a regular DUI, you got to wait 3 years, and then you get that sucker sealed.
Yep.
Now, I will add this. Please don't get another DUI, because just because your record's sealed and you get a second
Don't
DUI,
celebrate it.
That still counts as a second DUI. Right. Sealing records is a benefit.
But Big Brother still knows you got the first one.
Exactly. If you go and get yourself in trouble again,
how many times have you heard
it don't work?
Have you ever had a prior charge? And how many times has somebody said to you, "Oh well, it's been 20 years."
Yeah.
Or they didn't tell you at all, and
we find out
in the criminal history. It just so happens that in Illinois, in 1984, they got a DUI.
Mm-hmm.
Counts against you.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2024 in Maricopa County, not in Illinois. Not that that matters that much, but that's counting against you. That's number 2. So they're going to want to go just a little bit harder on you over there at the Gilbert or the Mesa.
Yeah.
Because Gilbert and Mesa love to throw the books. They're really warmed up for it. But there's a lot of
they're working to be the safest community in Arizona, and
right.
Their way is more jail, less problems, and I don't know if that works these days. I've got a crazy story.
We
had a case where this guy, for the first time DUI, got 7 years of prison. 7 years of prison in Arizona for his first DUI. Want to know what happened?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
You got my interest.
Exactly. This was awful. We fought the hardest we could in this case, and 7 years was the best outcome for this particular person. Why? Because, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years before, he had a drug conviction. Okay. So he had used drugs at some point, got in trouble, got clean. Okay. And this is I want to tell you too, this is like a respectable person. This is like a high up manager at a major restaurant chain. Like, this isn't your like low life person.
Right. Okay. High achiever.
High achiever, but made a mistake. Great. Paid for it, done and over with. Well, then a few years after that, he got himself into a car accident where instead of pulling over immediately, he basically went around the block and came back. Well, they looked at that as a hit and run. Hit him with hit and run, another felony offense. Of course, suspended his license. He did jail time on that, which was serious. Right. And they looked at his old drug offense and they said, yeah, you're a repeat offender. Two totally different things, but okay. Yeah. That's the way Arizona systems work. So now he's on the list for the third time you get in trouble, and that becomes a felony. Guess what? You're in serious trouble. So here's what happens. So he gets, out of jail. He's on probation. He has a probation officer, and for a couple years, he's driving. And he's driving to his probation officer appointments. He checks in every time with his probation officer, writing, here's my car, here's my license plate number, here's my insurance. The whole nine. Well, then one day he goes and, there's a breakup with the girlfriend kind of thing. He goes to the bar, has a few drinks, drives, swerves, and police officer pulls him over. Simple, standard DUI. Standard DUI that normally gets you 1 day in jail.
So it was, not an extreme.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Okay. Again, no, it's not like anybody died. There's no major accident. He didn't have kids in the car, nothing like that. Yeah. First DUI. Never drank and drove before that, or at least not charged. 7 years, because guess what? From his prior offense, he still had his license suspended. Even though they never took away his license, they never did. He got insured. He told his PO, like the whole nine. So never got anything in the mail. So he automatically, for his first time DUI, how long ago was this? Got an aggravated. This was a handful of years ago.
Okay, so before they changed it to right now's little bit softer approach on that particular case, maybe
it still counts, and
it still would count, but they could treat it as
they always could. They even back in the day always could treat it not that way.
Right.
But here's the deal: these prosecutors in the vehicular crimes unit, they are a different breed.
No kidding.
They think you are the spawn of Satan if you drink and drove even once.
Right.
And look, don't get me wrong. Yeah, somebody losing their life, I get that. But that learning lesson, unfortunately, comes at that time. You don't throw people in prison for their first time DUI, and they did on this guy. But get this, his range, so the lowest, if he had gone to trial and lost, was 6 years, and his highest was 15 years. His probation officer wanted him to get 10 years of prison.
And he was doing good on
And he was perfect on probation. Yeah, but because the probation officer just said, yeah, he's doing fine, give him the standard punishment. They didn't realize his range was 10 years of prison. So then get this. His
presumptive's 10.
His presumptive was 10. So the starting point for the judge was 10 years. Oh. And this probation officer was like, yeah, he's doing fine, but he made a mistake and give him the average punishment. His prosecutor argued for 8 years, which was slightly less than the presumptive. Mm-hmm. We argued by law for the lowest level you can get for
6.
Somebody like him was 6. And the judge,
handcuffed.
We were handcuffed. There was no way to win.
That's when that's when you need Judge Ryan, who's just going to look at this thing and go, what in the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, I love some judges. He's not the only one out there, but I love some judges. There's a few in Pinal County actually that dragged their stones to work. That would say that. that breaks my heart.
It's awful. Awful.
Yeah, man, we could sit here and talk about bad stories, but we might turn everybody out there off.
I mean, look, and
I'll bet you $1.
It's a
I
war
don't know
story for
anything
sure.
about this. I'll bet you $1. The man you represented was very appreciative of you.
100%. Oh
Why
my
is that?
goodness.
Why did I know that from the Jump Street?
He
knew you were fighting.
he had been through the system.
Been through the circus.
He had never had a private lawyer.
Right.
And so before he had always had public defenders who showed up and just said, hey, look,
Right.
it's a hit and run, man. Just take this deal, get in and out of jail, and life will be fine. Right. Never once told him, of course, to worry about your license. They don't care about the future.
Right.
They don't protect anything other than let's get you off our plate today. And this guy just hiring us saw that we fought every avenue of his case short of trial.
Right.
And
knew that trial wasn't in his best
yeah,
interest.
knew that there was no winning at trial, right. Even with a sympathetic, jury member.
Right. He was guilty of driving impaired.
100%.
It's going to be,
and there was nothing wrong.
The hammer's going to drop.
Yeah, he knew it. He admitted it. He wanted to pay and do his time. And that was the crazy part. If he had, at any point of getting out of jail, gone to MVD and filled out the little application that takes 15 minutes, sure, you got to wait in line for an hour, but filled out the one-page application that said, hey, reinstate my license, and here's $50.
Right.
He would have gotten 1 day of jail.
Not 7
1 day over an hour's worth of work, $50.
Yeah, and we can't somehow get all that red tape. We can't get to that moment wherein, guys, there's the law, and then there's what fits.
Yeah.
Then there's justice, right? Remember the ladies blindfolded?
Yeah. Ladies' justice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be blindfolded, not in a creepy way. But anyway, can't we get there? And sometimes the answer is no. Yeah. This man did not, but I find it interesting.
And you can't get a redo.
Right.
There's no redo.
There's no uncle.
You can't just,
safe
I'm going to
word.
change the prosecutor and get a more reasonable one. You're stuck with the hand you're dealt sometimes.
Not there. I could probably tell you which prosecutor it was. So anyway, that's so interesting. But really what's interesting is that man's life is not over. Because he went in, he's probably in there right now or about ready to jump out. But he never became a victim. He appreciated what you were doing. I didn't even have to ask you about this guy at all. I knew it. Yeah. Because we see this side of things too. And it's like they're our best clients, and they're just appreciating that somebody's up front and center taking the hits for them and fighting and talking straight to them. Here's the situation we're in. And it's complete bogus. And I can't believe that we're even having this conversation, and these folks, okay, all right, like, holy crap, mad respect to those clients.
And it's such a, this is the part, and this is, anybody watching should know this, especially in Arizona, it's not about being a repeat offender. I get it. If somebody's committing the same crime over and over, I get it. Hey, that person really hasn't learned their lesson. Right. Let's kind of start throwing the book at them a little bit. But when people
there's 3 different odd offenses here.
Yeah,
one
exactly.
Doesn't go to the other.
Like, in no way would this person, like, it's not like you get in trouble once and magically you're like, oh, I'm never going to commit a crime again, and I'm just going to go and memorize every law in here. That's just not possible. Right. What the system's designed for is, so when you get in trouble, you get consequences and you learn to not make that mistake again. Right. And obviously you try and not make any mistake again, is in theory.
Would be good.
But a lot of people don't know they're committing a crime sometimes, right? And that's when they hit the second offense. And this guy's second offense was, he didn't turn around fast enough. And he knew it. He should have. Maybe somewhere in his subconscious, he was like, I might get away with it. But he did the right thing. Right. He went back. He turned himself in. Right. Nobody had to go, light up the helicopter to look for him. Nothing like that.
And unfortunately, he was not well represented there.
Yeah.
And there led to when he met you and all the cards stacked.
And don't get me wrong. I know this guy knew drinking and driving was wrong. Sure. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But nobody knew you were going to get 7 years.
Right.
There's just no lawyer knows you're going to get 7 years. That's
here. Let's garnish some sort of. Let's look at this in some sort of global way. Everybody listening to us right now is paying for him to be in prison for 7 bloody years.
100%.
For a DUI, which usually we pay for them to be in jail. Actually, they pay for themselves to be in jail.
If you get arrested and go to jail, you're paying for that jail.
You're paying for that jail. It's like
and the taxpayers are also paying for it, so the government's double dipping.
Don't get us started.
Yeah.
We're going to get really going now because I got another topic I want to talk to Zach about because you're younger than me by a little bit.
Just smidge.
I'm listening to a pod the other day, and I'm digging this pod, I'm riding my bike, so I don't have a way to fast forward or skip the ad. So I'm listening to the ad, and it is a long, drawn-out AI lawyer ad. AI lawyer.
Okay.
And this sucker was like blooming 13 minutes long, it seemed. And I just heard it, and I just listened. Now I'm starting to pay attention. I got the best resolution. I know you guys don't do personal injury work. We do personal injury work here. This was a personal injury ad. But my take on this was interesting. As I'm listening to this, it's about this person that within minutes got zillions of dollars, the best resolution they ever could have gotten, and cut out the law issue or the need for a lawyer, and so on and so forth. And that AI program destroyed the insurance company. Mm-hmm. Okay, which we all would love to see. State Farm take a hickey once in a while, or Nationwide fall on its side, or whatever.
Allstate
right?
Be a little more flexible.
Yeah, something. But I'm listening to this and I'm thinking that is the biggest bunch of horse wahook, because I've been dealing on the personal injury side of things. My attorneys have been dealing with AI from the insurance side for the last 30 years or so. They have a program. They stick in all the DATs and all the deets, kind of like our
everybody
prosecutors.
part's worth one piece of this pie.
Yes, kind of like our prosecutors.
It's all systematized.
Like that, kind of have that little, this is our policy. This is our policy.
They got a little cheat sheet that says, hey, if you fit in this box, this is the punishment you get. Right. We don't care if you're Mother Teresa reincarnated.
I love that the public defenders just show them that.
Yeah.
Here's what the
prosecutor's going to think.
They got.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm listening to this thing and I'm like, dadgum, I bet you $10, maybe only one. I don't know. A soda at least. I bet you the money behind this AI is State Farm, Allstate. I bet you $1.50 they'd love to cut attorney work out, like private attorney out, because then they're going to pay you a whole lot less.
They get people to start representing themselves in accident claims and personal injury claims, and then be like, oh, I don't have somebody representing me, and they spits out, hey, here's my letter I'm writing, and they go, I know this letter.
Right, exactly.
Because every single person that's representing themselves has the same letter, because the AI spits out the same thing. That's what we see.
So the interesting thing is that's going to bleed into criminal, and we know all these little soft things that are around every case that matter, that make the biggest difference. There are some times where there is an unforeseen hell factor, like your buddy that's serving 7 years.
Yeah.
There is cases like that just like defy all logic. But for the most part, it's really the human experience that gets us from here to there.
Yeah.
And man, I could not believe that. So I got a little fearful on the AI thing, but then you get the misunderstanding of AI, which is a lot of folks are using AI for, scheduling consults and this, that's, and whatnot. And in other industries, they got an AI like a text. Your schedule, your dentist.
Where it basically texts people back and forth and sounds like a person,
Right, your dentist is...
The world's going that way a little
scheduled
bit.
for your dentist appointment. And I've actually appreciated a few of those. Your car's ready at, the dealer. Oh, sweet. That's nice. It would have taken Mike a little bit more. No, I got to call faster from Mike.
Sealing records, the most important thing that we didn't even talk about, which is super important for everybody in Arizona, especially if you're dealing with what we were just talking about, domestic violence offenses. Because if you get a domestic violence offense and that whole time the case is going on, the whole time you're on probation for domestic violence, you're not allowed to possess weapons.
Even though it's
guns, firearms.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah, misdemeanors.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, which means you can't have them in your house. You can't be like, they're in my gun safe. Oh, yeah, the gun safe you know the combo to? That's what the police say. And then they charge you with a felony for being in possession of a gun.
Which is a 2.5-year pinch presumptive.
Which is serious prison time. So sealing records solves that problem for us now. Yep. Because you can go and get your records sealed after a domestic violence case, after a case has been dismissed, after you've been convicted, you finish everything, and you automatically, if approved, automatically, the judge can't say no, get your gun rights back for Arizona.
Yep.
Now, it's still a little bit of a fight for the federal level. You've got to then go and petition the feds to re-examine your record, and you send it to them. A little bit of annoying, but for Arizona,
and frankly, once it gets to that level, I haven't seen one fail yet.
Exactly. It's just a time process.
Right. It's time consuming, but frankly, just pick somebody that knows what they're doing and do it right.
Yeah.
You brought that up. I thought that was genius. Do it right the first time, because if you don't,
I feel so bad. We've gotten a handful of calls from people who've done it, been denied, and they're like, can you undo it? And we're like, no, dude, you just pitched the 9th inning of your baseball game and you lost.
We can't have the next game and it's in 3 years.
Yeah, the next game don't start for 3 years. And hopefully you let us pitch for you first inning.
Let us go ahead and take this at bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one unsuccessful case for sealing records. Very frustrating. Because the judge, this law is complicated, right? Especially every law is complicated. Don't get me wrong.
This one's a little screwy.
This one, it's new, and so it's a little rough around the edges. Again, we'll streamline this, but this person had a felony back in the day, and then they completed the felony, which then earned them a misdemeanor. Lovely.
Okay. Sure.
So we're like excited because this person's wait time went from 5 years down to 3 years.
Right.
Based on it being a misdemeanor. So we applied and we said, hey, judge, everything's completed. Timeline's been met. Judge responds back, denied. Your timeline hasn't been met. And I go, I'm a pretty smart lawyer. Judges are pretty busy. I definitely wasn't wasting my client's money. So let me go and file a motion to reconsider, which is the only way around a denial.
Right.
Say nicely, hey, judge, I'd re-reviewed the law.
Can you take another
and it
look
says
at
this,
right?
And I would love for you to look at it again, with respectfully. You can't tell the judge that they're wrong, or else, you're going to get denied again for no reason.
That doesn't go very far, but the motion to reconsider, I think they even appreciate those.
They do. So this judge then responds back and writes about a page response. And I was like, wow, okay. And the judge in the first half of the page acknowledges that I was right. That yes, this case, while it was a felony, was reduced down to a misdemeanor. Therefore, the time period is accelerated. And the judge said, so based on that, I would grant this. However, next prong of this law is this in the best interest of the public? And based on this person's particular domestic violence offense, it was a little more on the serious side of things. And the judge specifically stated all the acts that had occurred. And the judge did that then to justify the second denial. So even though we won, even though I was right, the judge found a way to say no. And the judge did that specifically maybe to show that he has a little power, maybe to show he has a little bit of the law, and to prove a point.
Yeah, kind of say, listen, this is what we're looking at here. We're going to keep this in the icebox for another few years.
Yeah.
And then hit me up again.
And that's exactly it. So now they say, look, let's wait another 3 years. That's the reading between the lines that we lawyers do. That's what this judge is saying. And the judge wrote it out there thoroughly so the next judge can see it. Because this judge won't be on the bench in 3 years.
Likely
it's going to be somebody else.
Likely not, right.
And, we explain this to our client. It's not the end of the world, but you do kind of have, a higher road to climb here. And ultimately something will come out beneficial. There's set-asides, there's some other backup
and
plans.
some folks, if they know there's a path and they're willing to be patient there, that's been my experience with the folks that we represent here. Every once in a while, look, this is what you don't get. I'm listening to that AI thing. This is what you don't get. Now I automatically am going into car wreck mode.
Yeah.
And I don't even do any personal injury work personally. I got Mike, who is like the best ever, and the beard, we call him. And Mike and the beard. Should we just go with
best
Mike
beard,
and the beard?
best PI?
Oh man, they are so good. Anyway, it's like if you have a dream squad to represent you in a car wreck, you want the Arizona firm injury folks. They're awesome. That said, they're not just cool, but they're really good at what they do. And every client, they have like this personal relationship with every client. Like they jack around with each other. And so we, one of the clients said, I want to leave a review, and left this like 2-page, eloquent as all get out rip. I mean, the nastiest review you have ever read, ever. And she said, I just wanted you to see this before I posted it. I'm of course going to post it with 5 stars. And just having fun at their expense, like all sorts of. It was like, hey, who goes out of their way to spend an hour to do, to turn around and do like an equally great review?
That's the quality you get from private firms. Yeah. I just, for most private firms, let me say it that way. Yeah. Firms that are established, firms that have support staff. Yeah. I'm not dishing on anybody who's out there being a lawyer, working their way. And don't get me wrong, they're fantastic and you're going to get good customer service. But sometimes when our firms get a little bigger too, we bring on a couple different attorneys, that's when that really gets good. That's when our attorneys and our clients really build relationships. I mean, our Google reviews doubled, if not tripled, after I brought in other lawyers who were better than me. Yeah. They're fantastic.
Isn't it fun to see that happen?
It's great.
It's awesome.
And I think I know a good amount because, I passed law school. It's the top of my class. But boy, there are lawyers out here who they are better than I am. They know this law. They know how to negotiate. They know how to win trials.
And they're likable.
Oh, yeah. And they're normal human beings.
Right. They're likable. They walk in, they're like, the prosecutor, hey, what's up, Fred? Yeah. Hey, what's up, Samantha? How you doing?
They work well with clients.
Right.
They can relate. I mean, I hate to throw one of my lawyers under the bus. She got a red light ticket recently.
Awesome.
Out of a radar, and she had to go to traffic survival school. And boy, she was the favorite person in there because she's a lawyer doing traffic survival school, and was just like, yeah, I know this law. I knew this law. I made this mistake. It's hard to get out of a red light ticket if you get served it, and a whole nother argument.
The whole
there.
System, right? But the whole system figures we know everything.
Yeah,
and
this
right.
It's just not possible.
And it's got a nice
here's the newest. Here's the newest version. It's just the red light one's like, this sentence.
I'm just glad that they went all classed it up this year because usually we're getting like a green one, purple.
Yeah, they go funny colors sometimes.
But now it's like all classic looking. Next year we're going to complain again.
Yeah, well. And this is the biggest complaint sometimes is the only new laws are about this thick. Right. And so most of the book is the same. Right. But these new laws are so important that you do need the whole book.
You need the whole bloody book. It's roadside robbery. So, I'm listening to this, and that's what we get on the personal injury side of things in AI. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that human, what you're talking about, that adding on to your firm and bringing on quality, and then the staff that comes with it too, because the staff is so important. And I love the fact that I've been working behind the scenes paralegal and managing, whatever they call it. I don't even know what they call me nowadays, but it doesn't matter. I just like supporting everybody. And it's been like rewarding beyond rewarding to be able to kind of watch this unfold and then be able to have like 19 rods in the water, at one given time, just kind of watching them all. It's just interesting.
Yeah, 19 people helping build the ship to get you across the sea. That is just you're just helping every client along the way. It's cool.
It's really cool. And every once in a while, I get client contact after the fact. Not really every once in a while. It happens at least daily, but just thank you so much for blah, 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 blah. And they're really thanking me on behalf of the staff.
Yeah.
Thank you for Anne. Thank you so much. She was so awesome. We had a scheduled visit. They call it a visit. If you've got a criminal charge and you're in Anne's, you're in her world, she'll schedule a visit. She's one of my few paralegals that do it this way.
Yeah.
Every XYZ day, every Wednesday at 3 or every, Thursday. She's got a whole bunch of them, so her calendar's all peppered, and she just has, even if she's telling them, I don't have an update for you, but I'm just told you we'd be visiting.
Yeah.
How you doing? Yada, yada. And I was like, that's brilliant. I didn't tell her to do that. I'm like, will you teach that to everybody else?
Yeah,
That's
the
pretty rad.
people at our firms, they care. And again, I mean, this is the private side of law firms. Yeah. We have more time. We work with less clients. Yes, there's a financial cost to it, but it's so worth it when you, especially a lot of our clients, they've never been through the system. They're not looking to escape the world. They're not looking, all the time for like completely get this off, They're not looking to go. They're looking for the customer service. They're looking to get answers to their questions. They're looking to know and make sure they don't mess something up. And we've been using a lot of technology actually at our firm. We love technology. We've been experimenting with some AIs because I think it's fantastic to help support, to supplement, to add in to our law firms here. And law firms, I don't want to say will go extinct or anything like that if you don't use it, but it's kind of like paper files. Like, nobody really goes to court unless you're going to trial, but you don't hug along, 17, binders these days unless you're the public defenders. But even then, they're getting to the iPad levels and stuff.
They got iPads now.
Yeah, they do.
I've been seeing that.
But so like at our firm, we put all of our clients in text messages, group text message. So you get myself, the attorney, the paralegal, and the legal assistant. So we're like, sorry if we don't answer the phone because we're in court, but shoot us a text. And any one of the 5 of us will answer it, letting you know faster what's going on. Clients love it, stress-free. You don't have to schedule an appointment. You definitely don't have to go to our office, shoot a text. We record a lot of videos. We use a program called Loom, Loom, where we hit play, records our screen, little bubble pops up with our face, and we say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's your police report. Here's where the officer messed up. Here's where you kind of messed up. Here's where we think, the police officer and the prosecutor are working together on this. And we say, here's what your plea deal right now looks like. Here's how we're negotiating with the prosecutor to get you this best outcome.
Interesting.
And we send them this video. And clients love it these days because they have jobs, they work, they have families. And so now they get a video, pop it up on your phone, your computer, and watch, 30, 40 minutes sometimes of your lawyer explaining start to finish what's going on with your case. And then if you're confused, you want to show your spouse, pause, rewind, start it over.
It's all right there.
And it's so simple. We've been very proactive about things like that. As opposed to the old style, which was, hey, try and schedule an appointment. We'll see if we can show up and drive and park in our parking garage, which is annoying. And then, get lost in the elevators and then show up and be like, oh, okay, here's a bottle of water and all for a 5-minute question kind of thing. Or the alternative is, sorry, you get no updates unless it's a phone call until you show up to court. And then we try and explain, in 20 minutes, an hour's worth of information. And then we say, oh, by the way, here's this deal. You have 3 minutes to decide.
Right. Which is like the worst thing
It's
to
awful.
Be doing. It's the worst way to do it.
It's not an educated decision. So we send them these videos ahead of time, and they love it. Part of what AI does in those is AI breaks down the video and explains in like little chapters what we're discussing. And it labels it and gives a nice summary.
That's cool.
And AI helps with our notes. When we go to court, we will do a self debrief, kind of like an Avatar, the movie, where after every time they go and they do an experiment, whatever, they record themselves of what they did. We have our attorneys do that, where to the file, a note to the file, basically, instead of manually typing out, I went to court, showed up on time, client was there, discussed this, discussed that, judge said yes, judge said no.
Now you enter that video.
We just film ourselves in a quick little 5-minute video. And the AI breaks the whole thing down into summaries, into action items, breaks it down by what people we were talking about. And then we just copy and paste that into our notes.
So interesting.
So now the next person who, the next paralegal, the next legal assistant who's like, oh, what happened at court? Super detailed transcription, essentially, or they can watch the video.
Sure, either way.
And then, of course, like our customers aren't, our clients aren't necessarily getting that video. But boy, if they ever call in or ask a question,
they're going to get that information.
They know exactly what happened. Right. And we don't have to go and, track down the lawyer who's busy at another courthouse and be like, hey, this other client's calling. They had a double check. Did they have to do traffic school or did they not have to?
Right.
It's written right there.
It's interesting.
So that's
I'm
helpful.
like the oldest school person I know that's not, I am older than you, but I'm not old enough to make this claim, but I just going to anyway. I'm a Steno Notepad and a Ticonderoga #2 guy. But my entire fleet of lawyers that work here would dig what you're talking about here because I love that it's breaking it down in chapters. I love that you're using the technology that's available to enhance your personal abilities, to be more personable, to be more involved, to make it that much better, to enhance your whole process of defending these folks.
The quality of legal services is 10 times better.
I dig that.
This way.
I dig that. I think that's a good way of looking at AI. I was coming into this
your
thing
$5,000 basically is worth $50,000 worth of work. Like that's how much that's helping.
More value. I love that. It's awesome. We're gonna have to talk more about that because I'm gonna have to get my arms around that because when I was riding my bicycle, that's not motorized, by the way, or no battery,
no electric assisted.
No, it's Chevrolet legs only.
All right,
and I'm pedaling that sucker. I was like, you got to be kidding me! But I like that you use it for your product, for your services.
So let's put it this way. You mentioned bicycles. I have a Tesla, and my Tesla has full self-driving autopilot capabilities. And I tell a lot of people that's a fantastic piece of technology. It is top-notch. Tesla, they've really figured it out. But I only trust it about 85%.
Right.
And so that's the AI comparison. Like no matter how good it is, there should never not be a human being there.
Right.
I mean, not to shame it, it don't like construction zones.
Right.
It just don't do it. It don't do roundabouts.
Okay, right.
So there's just a ton of things that the human being is really needed for. Is it 10 times easier when I'm, getting ready for court and I say, all right, drive me to court and I can put my tie on while still watching, that's really nice and convenient.
Yeah.
But, is it enough where I'm sitting there and just, taking a nap? No, definitely not. Nothing like that.
No, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to go ahead and fake drive, I
guess. So in that comparison, you wouldn't just be like, oh, let me just scan in all my police report and be like, AI, tell me what my defense is and just let that drive the boat of your defense. No, that's just, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
I mean, the AI is not there for that at this point, but maybe one day. But even then,
you're gonna miss.
You can't do it.
There's the human element, the human experience that only the human can understand.
Yeah.
And to me, you can put as much documentation as possible. I like the way you guys work it. I'm gonna rethink my position now after having these closing arguments. I'm going to rethink my position. I may come into it differently than your judge that you sought that motion to reconsider. I might not have a however. That however word is always the one where,
however, you still lose.
You're however, good feeling, guy.
When my assistant messaged me and said it was denied, and I pulled open the order, and I was like, no, this is great. This is great. And I was like, oh no, this is not great.
There's
this
a
is
however.
Not great.
There's a however right there.
Yeah,
that's not good.
And that's final conclusion of things. Like that's the way the criminal system works, and that's why we can't promise anything when you hire us. Like, sure, the law says yes, but if a judge says no, and the judge is allowed to say no, sometimes our hands are tied. No matter how smart we are, no matter how good we are at negotiating, no matter how 20 plus years of experience, this, of that.
Yep.
Like, this isn't like the movies. We can't be like, oh, hey, we're going to go and get this judge because they're favorable on, climate change policy. Like, that's not how this works
The flip
here.
side's true too. The flip side is true as well. I mean, sometimes we skate something that should not skate through, and it does, and it's like, oh, I don't know how that flew, but it flew, and I'm glad it did. And sometimes everything lines up, and you've got like the most deserving client on the planet that we just somehow, skated our way through. We'll talk about maybe next time we get together. You may have a new kid by then.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
New kid, older puppy.
New kid, a little. Good one. New kid, older puppy. We're going to end it on that. New kid, older puppy.
Thank you, guys. If you haven't already, please follow, share, like all of our stuff. We got great firms out here.
Yeah, we don't say subscribe anymore because that refers to somebody having to actually do something other than poke a button. But follow us.
Yeah, we give great free advice all the time.
All the time.